I wrote and directed Pootie Tang.
Pootie Tang, and about the visual elements of the movie, and he seemed to think that I approached it as a filmmaker, which I did. And he noticed that I hired Willie Courant as the director of photography for Pootie Tang. And Willie Courant was an eminent kind of new wave French, very old director of photography who made films with Serge Gainsbourg, and he made a film with Godard, Masculine Feminine, and worked with a lot of other great filmmakers. And he was an amazing guy to work with. And yeah, no, I took Pootie Tang very seriously as a film. I wanted to be a film director and direct a real movie about a guy who talks in a undiscernible language.
It wasn't, and actually I probably wish it was more of a tough sell, but yeah, it was supposed to be just a weird, quirky movie made for a small amount of money, but then people got excited that it might be a franchisable character, so they put a lot more expectation.
Yeah, I think that's.
I mean, when we were shooting the movie was a great time, but then they started coming and visiting and saying how great they thought it was, and that was really scary. So later down the line, when we were editing, they had a lot of high number expectations of it that it never could have achieved. But their process of trying to get it there was very painful to the film and me. But but overall, it was a good thing to happen.
They took me off well, I had already shot it, and it was during the editing process. They hated my cut. They fired my editor, got another guy, and let me do one more cut.
I made that movie exactly the way I wanted to. And in cutting it, I found out, first of all, that I had made a flawed movie. Like, it wasn't good.
Yeah.
I didn't make a beautiful movie that Paramount destroyed. I made a flawed movie that didn't really hang together as a feature. I would, with the wisdom I have now, I would have, if I were them, just let it be released the way I made it.
Yeah.
And just see what happens. It wasn't a big risk. It was a $3 million movie.
Yeah.
And Chris Rock was in it.
Yeah.
It made its money back the first weekend. It was fine.
Yeah.
I would have just let it go because they wasted an enormous amount of money. They recut for almost a year. And they just poured money into it trying to make it better, and it never was going to be any better. It just got worse.
Yeah, Pootie Tang was the character we did on the Chris Rock show. Well, Chris asked me, do you think there's a movie in that guy? And I said, that's a little nutty, but I'll try it. I wanted to make movies, very badly. I remember that point. Right. It was a great moment in my life. They summon you. I got flown out to L.A. First class. I have no idea. Well, I smelled something, but they took me to Paramount. You know, those gates. It's like you feel like that you're going to the White House, and I went to John Goldwyn's office. He was Samuel Goldwyn's grandson.
Sure. You know, I was in this big office, and I used to drive by the Paramount lot thinking, I wonder if I could ever get in that gate. And here I'm in John Goldwyn's office, Samuel Goldwyn's grandson, going, this movie is horrible and unreleasable, screaming at me. And I should have been thinking, oh, this is the depth of my career. But I was just thinking, wow, gee whiz. This is Hollywood. Yeah. This guy is, powerful, and he hates me, and, wow. And,
and so I'm in his office. I'm in the most important office at Paramount. He was running the studio at the time, and I remember I walked in, and he's shaking a little. He was so mad. And he just unloads. Everybody was there that was involved in the movie. He just unloaded on me and said, this movie is unreleasable. You have wasted my money. This is irresponsible. I have a problem with everyone here. And then this guy who was the president of MTV Films, they said, well, John, I don't think you really got the film. How dare you say that to me? He started screaming at company presidents because of my movie.
His voice was shaking. I guess, well, you never made a movie he hated that deeply. But the thing was that ran down like details. It's like, and then why would a man who shuns every woman and makes a beautiful woman drink milk from a saucer on the floor fall for such an ugly, disgusting pig of a floozy? And he was really angry that Pootie fell for the woman that he did. And I thought, wow, you really paid attention. You really got into that. He wasn't going like, what do we waste our money on? He didn't make calls during the movie. He watched and he said, no, that's wrong. And so I was very proud of that. And
Pootie Tang would never do that.
No, yeah. I mean, it hurt. It was painful.
Better than you knew Pootie.
To go through that and then get kicked out of the editing room and just you feel shudders in your body of, wow, these guys don't mess around, but it's
That
kind of
hate
like,
is real.
yeah, but it would be like if Mike Tyson like kicked your ass. Part of you would be going, oh, cool, it's Mike Tyson. This is what it's like to get my ass kicked by Mike Tyson.
I'll never forget that moment because I feel all I wanted to do was make movies at the time, and that was being destroyed by Samuel Goldwyn's grandson. And I'm sitting there, but a part of me was outside of my body going, you are in the Paramount big office being yelled at by how cool is this?
Really? You were able to...
Yes, I was able to enjoy it.
You turned it into a positive.
Absolutely, because who gets to have that very rare, beautiful experience to get to have it?
I didn't like what eventually came out. I liked what I showed him.
What you showed him, right. And then they
And one
fixed
thing,
it.
that I never felt too bad about it, because he was very passionate about the hate, and he...
To me, the key is like surviving failure is it just turns you, it's a very great experience.
Tell me about it.
Because yeah, look, I went through all of that, Howard, and they killed, the press guy. I mean, I grew up watching Siskel and Ebert on PBS, when it was that show, and so I always dreamed when I was a kid, someday Roger Ebert and that other dude who's dead are going to look at me through the camera and say something about my movie. And here was Roger Ebert saying, Pootie Tang is so bad, I don't even understand what it is. This isn't even a movie. It's not even complete. Yeah, he was like so hateful. And I'm having the experience of becoming famous for making a movie everyone unanimously thinks is awful, including Robin, who I grew up listening to and loved.
Right. Because none of the pain you experience and stuff like that sticks with you, really, if you're smart about it. It just goes away. And all that's left is that I got to make a movie. Right. And even the worst parts of it were just fascinating. To be on the inside of a movie and go under siege, it was fascinating, because I never thought I'd get that opportunity. Because Chris was in it, and he was hot.
Right. Yeah.
And, it made its money back, and I get good checks for Pootie Tang. It's doing really well. Yeah, it's a cult hit. People dig it.
Wow.
I can't look at 2 minutes of it, because it just turned into a train wreck. But I think it might have been a good movie if we had done it all one way. It's just that they wanted to backtrack and try to do something else with it. That kind of stuff. But the thing is that going through that, though, Howard, and getting through it, and then a few months later realizing I survived that was really hard, but I feel fine. It doesn't stick to you. But I'm so much smarter, and I think that my show now is totally succeeding because Pootie Tang failed. I swear to God, it wouldn't have happened without the other. Chris and I are very good friends.
Oh, good. Okay.
And we've wrote a movie together since then. We've done a lot of things. I think we had one phone call where we were like, Clinton and Gore after the election. Whose fault is this? But no, but there are people that moved away from me, and they're all reading about me in the trades on my own show now. Well, you learn what beatings life can give you, and then you go, well, I'm not afraid. And I thought when I did this show, I might get the shit kicked out of me again, but I've had the shit kicked out of me.
No, when I was making Pootie Tang, when we were in pre-production, there's this producer on the movie, Cotty Chubb, and he was like my right-hand man. He was doing everything for me. And Chris came up to me and said, that guy's going to take the movie away from you eventually. Oh. And I was like, that's crazy. He's my partner. This guy's got my back. And he goes, no, that guy is going to eventually take this movie away from you and kill you. And it's exactly what happened. Wow. Like, he just knew it. He didn't even know the guy. He saw the two of us talking, and he's like, yeah, that's the guy. That's the guy they picked to watch you and help you, and then in the end, he's going to screw you. And that guy did pry the movie away from me and me hard in the ass. He's good enough now at the game to go. He just goes, oh, that's that guy who does that. And now I'm that way. Now I can do that. There's the guy with a nervous laugh who will sell you out eventually under pressure.
Yeah.
There's the dude. There's like all kinds of people. There's the chick. There's the woman who takes during a meeting, she takes off her shoes and then sits kind of cat-like and says how much she loves you, and she'll eventually f*** you up the ass with somebody else's. She'll rip off some other guy's
and just
put
shove
it on
right
the end
in
of
your
a broom
ass
and shove it up your ass. But you learn the players, because the thing they're not good at is changing shape or tactics.
They're not shape changers.
No, they're not. They're just they're
obvious.
Vicious, but they're not. You can walk around them once you learn the
greatest.
terrain.
I wish I could find the tape from when I did Pootie Tang. There's a part in the movie where he makes a hit record, but it's silence. There's no sound to it. So there's a montage of all these people reacting to it. And it was in the script. It just said a young Asian boy is listening to the Nothing, and his father runs in the room and says, "Turn that noise down." Like any father would.
Yeah.
And I just wrote Asian just because that's what I saw. I didn't want, but every auditioner, every single one, the audition goes the same as what?
Oh,
and then
really?
you hear me or the person auditioning going, it's not supposed to be a stereotype Asian. And then the actor goes, oh, I'm sorry. And then he just does it as the good American that he is. Because none of them were... They were all American-born Asians, but they just assumed, they want me to go, oh!
He wants the wacky.
I was like, no, I actually don't want that.
When I was doing Pootie Tang and they fired me off the movie, I thought seriously about taking a beta tape to Canal Street.
It was white.
And just dropping it. Well, and also
Like,
they
no, I
added
thought that was
dumb
kind of good.
narration. Like, the movie was meant to be kind of awkward and strange. That's the way that I make stuff. And so they took everything that was sort of strange and they explained it with narration.
Oh, that's
With
always
dumb
good. Yeah, that's
narration.
great.
And he was just trying to get the movie out, so he stayed with it and kept them involved in it and stuff. But that was the end of my... you can't... that's the way it goes. You sign a thing that says you sign it there. You work at their pleasure,
Right.
You can't complain. Wow. I mean, nobody can be surprised. You work for a movie studio. It's not your own house. They didn't come to your house. It was so humiliating. It was so hard. The pressure was so much because something was out there that I didn't like. I wouldn't mind if I felt like somebody was up a thing and I don't believe that you shouldn't fire a director.
Right.
When I made that movie, I signed a regular studio contract that says I serve at their pleasure and they can replace me on a day's notice. I knew that. So I can't say they took my movie away. They hired me to work on a movie that I happen to have written and that I care a lot about. But I got thrown off because I wasn't doing what they wanted. That's the way it works. I had a meeting with a big director at the time who told me some things that you can do. One thing he said is when they take the movie away from you, it's inevitable. It happens to almost every movie that the director loses control during the editing. But the thing you can count on is that the studios don't have any better ideas than you do. And they don't really want to edit. They don't enjoy the work. It's your idea. You have the creativity and you like it. They don't like it and they don't know how to do it. So they'll, just to be protective and, territorial, they'll take it away from you. Let them take it. Don't fight it. I love, a lot of filmmakers. I like Scorsese. Those are the kind of the streets of New York filmmakers that I really love.
Well, Scorsese's a little bit trippy,
Yeah.
It's a little strange. Like Mean Streets, which you should go back and watch.
I haven't seen that in a while.
It's so good. But there's really, it's a scene about these kind of like scrappy mobsters in the Greenwich Village in the 60s. But then there's a scene where a guy goes, hey, come into my, this guy that owns the bar, he goes, come in the basement, I want to show you something. He has a tiger in a f***ing cage that he bought. And they're all like, what the f*** are you doing with this tiger? And it's kind of a funny scene, but then he gets in the cage with the tiger and he starts hugging the tiger, and it gets really quiet. And they all just stand there staring at him. And he's like hugging this tiger and like talking to it softly. It's a really intense scene that makes no sense in the
movie. In the context of the movie,
It's funny
because for you.
Robert De Niro, his comedies are so bad, but his dramas are hilarious. To me, two of the funniest movies in history are Goodfellas and Raging Bull. Mm-hmm. Two hilarious movies, not sold as comedies. They're not supposed to be funny.
Someone who's like, no, I'll show you what this would be like, and I'll give you these feelings, manufacturing feelings. And by the way, I'm not putting down that kind of filmmaking. Some of my favorite movies, Goodfellas, a lot of my favorite movies are totally reliable structures, and you can see how they work.
Martin Scorsese is a legendary, untouchable filmmaker. His films today aren't at the caliber, I don't think, in terms of richness and the effort made, and the rawness and the honesty.
Do you like hockey?
Oh, shit. I love hockey. I went to a few of the Rangers games.
Everyone tweeted me that picture. He's in the front row.
Yeah, hockey's the best spectator sport, live spectator sport ever.
You do like hockey.
I love it.
You're a Rangers.
I don't follow teams that much.
So you're not like
I love being at a Rangers game at MSG. That's really fun.
That picture went everywhere, too, because they spotted you in the audience.
Behind the goalie.
Behind the goalie.
Yeah, because they come up right up to the glass. These guys smash into each other.
Series tied 2-2.
Did you see the game last night?
Yes.
The coaches going at it?
I did.
They're going to fight by the end of this.
I know,
this is going to get ugly now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's time for it to be fighting.
I've never been to a hockey game. I hear it's amazing.
If you're not a hockey fan even, it's the greatest thing.
Basketball, they just kind of go up and down, and everybody acts cool.
Yeah.
Baseball has its moments. I love baseball since way back, but hockey, it's non-stop.
Yeah,
brutal.
I noticed last night you can't relax and watch the game. You're just like, it's in front of the net.
Yeah,
like,
and the brutality of the play, the regular play, not just the fighting. I never, till I sat close, saw how many moments, like the moments that aren't on camera. Like there's a guy in the middle of the ice, and he's sort of going, "Hey, I'm open." So a guy on the other team comes up and just crushes him in the head with the stick. And it doesn't get called. And even the guy who got hit just goes, oh, well. Like, he doesn't even...
It happened.
Oh, it's a legal hit.
And there were some board checks last night that were just like, the move is great. They skate up real fast, spin around as they, like, jump and hit him with their back up against the wall. It's fantastic.
Yeah. The rule is you can't leave the air. You can't get air. But they do it once in a while. They lift their skates up, so they're literally a missile.
Yeah.
Like a 300-pound missile.
And with their back, so it's like they're not even worried about their front getting hurt. That's
right. Going to your point, hockey is it's exhausting for them to control the puck.
Yeah.
And you feel the anxiety as you watch it.
It's right there.
But they control it for 5 seconds. Oh, they don't have control anymore.
It's tension.
That's most of the game, just trying to control the puck.
When that puck just goes whoosh right in front of the net, and there's like no one there. You're like, God, it's right in front.
Or there's a guy right there, but he's a little off balance. It's a very clumsy game.
Yeah. It seems like there's a huge amount of skill, but there's a lot of luck that you're in the right place at the right time.
Well, it's a flow game. It's like you got a great team is one that, they can take advantage of a moment and get, that whenever there's one guy who's sort of on his skates and he's got the puck and everybody goes crazy, they're like, oh my God, there's a chance. No. God damn it.
I would just aim for the goal every time, no matter where I was. I would just try to hit the goal.
It must take a lot of discipline, the guys who have
to not just shoot.
I saw one guy, he had an open shot, it looked like, but he passed it to the guy behind him and crushed the defenseman in front of him. He just tackled the guy in front of him.
But you don't really have a team. You're sort of a Rangers fan?
Well, I'm from Boston, so if the Bruins are in it, I go for them. But if they're not, I've become more of a New York fan. I've been here for like 25 years, and the only people that wear to me all live in Boston, so it's I have I have bad memories.
Not much love there.
Yeah, a lot of bad Boston memories.
Who's that? What's that guy on the Rangers that gave a little shot to the goalie last night? It's the Devils goalie.
I did not watch.
That was hilarious.
I just saw a few highlights.
And they would just did it on purpose to start and try to throw the Devils off the game a little bit.
Yeah.
Mike Rupp,
I can't have either.
My favorite guy on the Rangers is that guy. Is it Burke? The guy, Boyle. He's like a thawed out caveman. He's got this blue-white skin, and he's about 7'2", it looks like, and he doesn't look human. He's like Prussian or something.
Prussian,
one of those gone
old school guys.
Yeah.
The civilization is long gone.
Comes from another time.
Came from the Ottoman Empire.
Went to college in Mesopotamia.
He's brutal. He's one of those guys when he skates out there, you're like, all right, they're not trying to score now. This is
every team I was digging the action last night. And the goalies were amazing. I mean, obviously Lundqvist had some issues. But it was just amazing, though.
He also has two great shutouts in the series. It's only been done one other time.
Two great goalies. Yeah, each team used to have a goon, man.
And I just have no clue how anyone used to watch this on standard definition 4:3 television.
I watched it on a black and white TV when I was a kid.
I can't imagine. Now you watch it HD, widescreen, and like the camera angles are amazing. They're showing 3 different angles on the net, and it was amazing to watch.
All right, this is all good, but why all of a sudden hockey? Who are you seeing?
No,
you're seeing someone that likes hockey.
No, not at all.
In 18 years, we've
never the only sport with all white people. That's why
I finally figured it out.
Why are you into hockey all of a sudden?
No, you know why? Because it's Stanley Cup and the Rangers are in it.
It's been the Stanley Cup every year this time.
Are the Rangers in the Stanley Cup?
Well, no,
there's something going on.
Finals.
They're in the playoffs.
You don't want to tell us? There's something going on.
I swear, I would tell you. Well, I got nothing to hide. I would tell you. Swear.
You just decide hockey's it.
And last night people were because I was watching America's Got Talent while the hockey game was on. And then when that was over, I turned on.
I'm mad. You know, it was a great hockey era. Was in the 70s when they had guys that didn't have helmets.
Oh
They made helmets mandatory, but they grandfathered in if you played without one. So there was this era where the new young players had helmets and the old guys didn't, and they just had blood on their faces, and they were just these badass old men playing with no helmet.
I think they're doing that with the shields now.
I think the shields are getting to be.
You have to wear a shield if you come in now, but there's not many at this point. But guys, not
when you see some of the shit that happens, you're like, how did anyone not wear a helmet?
They had goalies that didn't wear helmets.
Oh yeah, back at the original.
Glenn Hill, Kevin always talks about.
Oh my God,
which is obviously crazy. But back then, you really couldn't lift a puck that easily. That's why.
Why?
Because the sticks weren't as curved and all that shit.
They didn't have like the
people were still getting hit in the head, but not as much as you
shoulder shots.
Would have assumed. They just couldn't get that puck up high back then.
Teeth knocked out.
And they used to have chain link fence.
Right,
it
wasn't glass.
What is it? MSG Classic. Every once in a while, they'll show a hockey game from like 1952.
It was just savages hanging on it.
You'll see chain link fence. They didn't, invent the plexiglass yet.
That's crazy. I never saw that.
The only sport I'll go to now is UFC, but I would like to try a hockey game.
Hockey is. You would like hockey. You don't necessarily have to sit up close, but it's kind of cool to hear him trash talking.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's fun to go to.
Oh, that's right.
I had never been to a game, but I got invited to go because that's one of the reasons that I got interested in it this year.
Oh yeah,
because hockey nobody goes.
Right? Yeah,
know? Like you go to a basketball game and there's like 3 ex-presidents there and Jay-Z, 15 movie stars that don't even get on the Jumbotron.
Right. Yeah.
But hockey, they let me. If I go to try to get to a basketball game, I have to go get high seat tickets.
Yeah.
But hockey, they're like, come on in.
Oh, Mr. Louie C.K. is joining us this evening.
I'm like the only one there.
Ladies and gentlemen, we bring your attention to the big screen. Louie C.K. is here this evening.
Well, we're into the 40s and they still have plexiglass. I'm telling you, I saw.
Maybe it was only
senses or whatever. But the guy's not wearing a mask, obviously.
Did you go to the hockey game with a lady friend?
Oh, this time.
Fucking Jim.
Get paid next to nothing on HBO.
That's right.
That's pretty impressive.
Howard. That's right.
They pay horribly, don't they?
Well, not for my family lineage. I'm making more money than anybody who raised me. Sure, I'm doing great. I mean, I'm very happy. There's people that pay a lot more, but then you have to do it their way.
Right.
That's why a lot of people don't do shows on HBO, because that's one of the reasons, like, a lot of people think it's just the networks keeping folks down, but that door's been open at HBO for everybody all these years.
Anything goes on the show? I mean, you can deal with any topics.
There's not a single thing you can't.
You're a married guy on the show.
Yeah.
You are like a middle-class guy, lower middle-class guy?
Lower middle class, working a muffler shop.
And you can talk about any subjects. No subjects are taboo.
Anything. We wondered if, like, HBO would say at some point, even for HBO, that's too much. We have one episode where in the scene, Jim Norton, that plays one of my friends, he says cunt about 40 times.
40 cunt.
And it's a religious conversation about what the nature of God is. Because this guy says to him, of course there's a God, where did you come from? And he says, my mother's cunt. And the guy says, well, where did she come? Where did she come? Her mother's cunt. And it goes back all the way. And, well, then where did all the cunts come from? And he says, one giant cunt. And the guy says, that's God. So in this show, we say that God is a giant cunt.
Did you get any letters?
We're waiting for the note.
You're waiting for the mail.
We're waiting for the note from HBO. And they said about that episode, their only note was, you mentioned TBS broadcasting in another scene, and that's not cool because they're a partner. That was it.
I love that.
Yeah, like that.
So the show is really about you and your wife, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's also about, the woman that plays my wife on the show, she's hot. She's great, Pamela, and she's really funny. And one reason
you're attracted to her in real life?
Oh, she's very cute.
Yeah.
You cast
definitely.
This program, didn't you?
What's that?
You cast
I cast it. Yeah, I got to cast my wife. But it's a huge mistake to cast your wife because she's hot, because then you got to carry her comedically throughout the show. So I found somebody funny. Yes. And the main reason I hired her also is because we started talking about marriage, about our marriages during the casting session, and she had some hilarious misery to impart about her marriage. So
do you jerk off a lot in your marriage?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
Do you deal with that in the show?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Masturbate.
Howard, he's in the closet. They live in like the honeymooners apartment. And when she goes to put the kid to bed, he goes into the broom closet to jerk off.
Yeah.
No kidding. Was that based on your real life?
Yeah.
You have a jerk-off room?
Oh, do I have a jerk-off room? No, I wish I had a jerk-off room. I'm down in the basement by the boiler. Like
That's a direct ripoff of a Honeymooners episode. Nothing, I'm jerking off. Actually, Louie told me in the green room that he's at the point now where if it comes between jerking off and taking a really good shit, he'll go for the long shit.
Yeah, because that's what, when my wife and kids leave, the fantasy is now I can shit for hours.
Me too.
And I love
Me too. I love a 2-hour home field shit.
I love it's my favorite thing. I don't know why they call it number 2.
You ever jerk off and shit at the same time? Maybe that'll just send you into nirvana.
I've jerked off soon after, and that was a bummer. It was depressing. I'll never do that again.
And all of these themes are dealt with in the new
Yeah, every one of them. We don't shy away from anything.
Then I got to watch it, yes.
What did you want to try to do with Lucky Louie that you thought hadn't been done before on a half-hour studio audience kind of sitcom?
Well, I guess it wasn't so much that it hadn't been done before, but I knew that it hadn't been done for an awfully long time, to do a show that just felt very honest and was kind of brutally funny, I guess is what I wanted to do. So you need a place that you can have really blunt edges. And today, language is part of that, I think. And people really talk the way that they talk on my show, to me.
No, some of what you want to talk about that you can't really do on a broadcast sitcom is to talk about sex. And in judging from the first few episodes of your show, to talk about some of the frustrations and disappointments and bad communication surrounding sex. I mean, part of it is kind of like the joylessness of sex.
Yeah, exactly. Or just the normalcy of sex. The non-fantasy of sex. Because when you're married, you still need sex as an important part of your life, but it's not. It's no longer a fantasy. It's a obligation to one another, and I mean that in a warm way, even though it doesn't sound warm. That you owe it to each other to give each other this comfort, But it becomes less sort of like there's no music behind it, no moans. There's just more like, hey, could you not do that to my back, please? It's more sort of like familiar. So a couple trying to stay excited and happy in a marriage, I find that to be a very sweet endeavor, and it's very painful at times and very silly.
Let me ask you to describe your character of Louie on the show.
I think that I play a guy that's like me without the career that I've had, more or less. Just a guy who's graduated high school and then never got much traction, worked service industry and those kind of jobs and wasn't sure what he's supposed to be trying to do. It's the way that I felt when I was growing up and most of my friends. The difference is that I kind of caught onto this comedy stuff and found something, but a lot of people I know didn't. And I remember what it felt like to not know where you're going to go. But what happens often is you meet somebody. You become directed by the fact that you met someone you want to be with. And so he's married to a woman who he now wants to please. And next thing he knows, he's got a kid and a lot of responsibility he doesn't feel all that prepared for. So he's trying to play catch up a little bit. That's about it. Otherwise, he's a little frustrated, I think. I feel really dumb talking about him in the third person. It's really me.
And describe his wife. Describe his wife for us.
Oh, Kim is a nurse, and she's someone who works really hard and is raising her daughter and is fiercely protective of her and lives in the same limiting world of that. When you live in these towns like, Lynn, Massachusetts or Youngstown, Ohio, and you want to be healthy and you want to raise your kid without a barrage of, Elmo and sugar and high fructose corn syrup, you have to really battle, And I think that she sort of, to her husband will do just fine. Clean him up. He's doing just fine, basically.
But the wife in your show is always trying to, in some way, control her husband's behavior. Like there's a whole episode that revolves around him really eating junk food and continuing to eat it after a good friend gets a heart attack. So
yes.
So so she's in the position kind of playing mom to her husband and saying, no, you shouldn't be eating that cake. You shouldn't be having, the hamburger and stuff. So is that coming out of like your marriage? Do you feel like you've put your wife in the position of having to be your mother sometimes?
Well, sometimes.
Notice how I'm blaming you.
No, of course it is. It's my fault. She's really, I think she resents having to be in that position. But I think it's close to something in my marriage and through what I've learned from a lot of this stuff. When you first get married as a guy, you just immediately are in the hole. You immediately assume that you're incapable of having a real relationship and that this woman's going to teach you. So the two of you start figuring out the guy and his problem. That's the first problem of every marriage, is what's wrong with this dumb boy of a man. Let's try to make him civilized. But then after a few years go by, you look at the woman and you go, this woman is crazy. What's wrong with her? Why does she have this need to do that? And then you end up settling, hopefully, somewhere in between. So I think both parties have problems. The guy just can't get a grip on himself, and the woman has a deep need to have the guy be just what she wants, which, it's her own issue too, I think. And I think Kim definitely has that. She wants to grab this guy by the throat a lot, and, I don't know. I still haven't figured it all out.
My guest is comic Louie C.K., and he has a new series called Lucky Louie, a new sitcom on HBO. It just premiered, and it's on right after Entourage. One of the things that your character is dealing with in your show Lucky Louie is, he's trying to make friends with his neighbors next door. They're an African-American couple. He wants to be their friends. He's also very self-conscious of the fact that they're black and he's white. So in wanting to do the right thing, he often does the wrong thing. Can you talk a little bit about trying to write that relationship and what issues you're trying to raise there?
Well, that comes out of a lot of reality in my life, because it's just my generation was segregated from black people. And I grew up near Boston, which is a very segregated city. And we actually had black kids that were bussed in. I mean, it sounds like we had them bust in for our amusement. It was fun. They were, let's get some black kids bust in here. That's what this place needs. No, Boston had all this busing, and there was these kids that were from other neighborhoods that were black. There was 0 black people living where I lived, and they were in our school. And I used to just awkwardly sit at their table because I wanted to know them. Most people don't believe me, but I'm half Mexican, and I came to this country from Mexico. I was born here and left before I was 1. And so I came here not speaking English, and I had the experience of coming here like as an immigrant, which is weird because I'm very white and Irish looking. But anyway.
But you're also part Jewish.
Yeah, my dad's dad was Jewish, and it's a mess, Terry. I'm a dog. I'm a mutt. But that's the way, it's great. But so when I started going to elementary school and junior high school and seeing these black kids I just wanted to know them. And I thought it was awkward to me that they were this other people, So I used to just sit at their table at the cafeteria during lunch and just sit there smiling and hoping they'd be my friend. They would just look at me like, what's your problem? And eventually I did make friends with a lot of them, but it had to be done awkwardly. The races are still segregated amazingly, and the only way to actually come across and make a contact is to do it self-consciously, kind of racistly, because you're really saying I want to know you because you're black. There's just no other way to do it, and it is important to me that my daughter know black people. I want her to know everybody. I don't want her to have this, so I have to make this dumb effort. So that story became really important, and actually the part that I tell in the pilot is a true story that a black
Just describe the story, yeah.
We were living actually in upstate New York at the time, and a black guy, there's nobody black where we were up there. A black guy came and fixed our refrigerator, and my daughter really bonded with him over the course of a day. She was like 2, and when kids are that age, knowing somebody for a day, it's like she's known him forever, She just really liked the guy, and she would say, refrigerator, and he'd say, yeah, refrigerator. And then we came to New York City, and we were on the subway, and she pointed at the first black guy she saw and said, refrigerator. And I was so shocked and horrified, and I thought, oh, my God, I have to get this little girl around some black people. This is not cool. And one of my best friends is Chris Rock, and it's funny because he has a daughter around almost exactly the same age, and he's having the same problem because I told him of the story. He's having the same problem with his little girl who's black, is that she doesn't know enough black kids. And he has to struggle because he lives in a nice part of New Jersey. He has to make a maximum effort to make sure his daughter sees enough black people to feel comfortable and identify. So it's weird. Because of the segregation, you have to make these awkward, unnatural efforts.
Let's talk a little bit about your character as a father on the show.
Mm-hmm.
You're a father of 2 kids?
I have 2 kids, yeah.
How old are
I
they?
have a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old, both girls.
The character in the sitcom seems to, be a pretty caring father, but he also seems very overwhelmed by the responsibility and kind of unprepared for it. Did you feel that way when you became a father, like you really weren't ready?
Oh, totally. I mean, I still feel that way because it's not like I'm done. They're 4 and 1. It's not like I can pack them off to camp now and forget about them. There's a huge amount of work to do, and it changes. It's like this is probably the worst thing I'll ever say in my life, but it's like an AIDS virus. It just keeps morphing, and you can't fight it because every day you think you've figured out fatherhood and you've mixed an antidote to it. And then, the next day it's like, who are these people? I don't even know who these people are. They weren't living in my house yesterday. And even who am I? And who is my wife? Every day you wake up and there's a whole new, that's like some crazy kind of movie. Like that every day you wake up with a different group of people and a different home and a different set of problems. And so you never get to use any experience is just thrown in the toilet. The only experience you start to glean from any wisdom is just that, be prepared for anything and just having resiliency is all you can have.
Has it been hard for you to be the authority figure and set limits for your children? Because it seems to me that when you were young, you were probably the kind of kid who was always violating those limits and defying the authority figures in your life.
Yes, I don't know how you picked up on that, but that's true. No, it is weird to be saying, how don't you do this? Because I identify with anybody who does something they shouldn't be doing. So, including my daughters. And, part of you wants them to build that strength, too. Like, part of you, when your daughter's screaming at you because she doesn't want to put on her shoes or whatever crazy thing, you want to... throw her in a garbage bin, but at the same time, you're proud of her and you're happy that she's building the strength and the skill to stand up for herself, But no, I think that's to me the crux of what this show is that is the way you feel. You feel constantly bent over and punched in the face by parenthood and marriage at the same time. And if you're honest, that's how you feel. And a lot of sitcoms that I've seen distill it to its perfect moments, where the parent is making just the right decision because America is watching this parent and they want him to do just the right thing with perfect evenness. And I guess people get kind of a satisfaction from watching a beautifully written, balanced parental moment. But I find that really boring, and I certainly don't find it funny. So the people on our show, they make awful decisions, and they don't connect together as a stream of parenthood or philosophy. At least it doesn't feel that way. Maybe if we look back over what we've done with our kids, we go, I guess we're doing okay. I guess we're basically have a hand on the tiller. We're still pointing in the right direction.
I've seen 3 episodes of your show. I've had an advanced DVD. But it seems to me in the first episode, the daughter figures into it more than in the other 2 I've seen. And I'm wondering if she's going to be like Richie on the Van Dyke show, where like there's some episodes where they have a daughter and where there's some episodes where they have a son and some episodes where they don't really seem to have a son. Is it going to be that way with your daughter on the show?
No, we don't want it to be. And it's hard to shoot with a child because, the funny thing is that's what we thought. It's really not the kid herself. It's the laws governing usage of her. In other words, she can only stay till a certain hour. Once you open her clock, you've got it. It's running fast.
Oh.
And so we actually did one episode that is all her. It's called Discipline, and I'm not sure exactly when it airs, but it's one that I actually wrote with Pamela Adlon. We wrote it together, and it's about a couple trying to clamp down and discipline their child.
So did that episode on disciplining the daughter draw on any real experiences in your life that you could tell us about?
Sure. Well, actually, the story came from Pamela because she's got 3 girls. Pamela Adlon, that plays my wife, and she's got this wild brood of 3 kids, and one of them was really, she's just been nuts, she's sort of like a changeling. She turned into this crazy person, and so Pamela and her husband started trying timeouts,
And at one point, Pamela told me this amazing story of putting her daughter in the laundry room and holding the door closed, and her daughter's pounding on the door and screaming, "I'm sorry!" Like angrily, screaming herself hoarse while Pamela's on the other side of the door, bawling, trying to keep her in there. I mean, it's just, there's so much drama in just trying to do the simplest thing with your kid. And she told me this beautiful story, and and also the undercutting, it was sort of half her story, half mine. My side of the story was that every time I try to discipline my kid, my wife would undercut. Like, I would be locked in a battle of wills with my daughter. And to the point, here's the point I got to. I was giving my daughter a bath, and I said, "It's time to brush your teeth." And she said, "No." She just refused to brush her teeth. And I said, "Okay, if you don't brush your teeth, then no books tonight. You're not going to get any books." And she said, "Yes, books, and no brush my teeth." She's like a monkey, that just learned to talk. And I'm like, no brushing teeth, no books. It's that simple. Yes, books, no brushing teeth. And so, and then she said, "You brush my teeth." This is how it goes. See, it's like really tricky. "You brush my teeth." And I'm thinking, is that compromise? Am I giving in by brushing her teeth? And I just made a quick judgment and said, "No, you brush your teeth or no books." And then my wife said, from the other room, my wife was listening, and my wife said, "Can you please come in here for a minute?" And I go, "No, I can't." And then my daughter said, "Yes, go talk to Mama. Go talk to Mama right now," because she knew what's going to happen. So I go in the other room, and my wife says, "It's not a good idea to use books as a weapon. They're important to her. And also, I brush her teeth sometimes for her, and you should do that." And I go, "No, that's not the point. The point is, it's I'm right no matter what. You have to go with me. You can't do this to me." And so I go in the other room, and she says, "What did Mama say?" Like that. And I'm like, "Nothing. She didn't say anything." "No, yes, she said that I don't have to. She said I don't have to." Like, she knew it. So that's what this episode is, a combination of that experience of mine and Pamela's. With the timeouts, and it was a really interesting one to shoot because I give this kid a timeout in the closet of our apartment, and we were really afraid or we expected that the audience would boo me and that I would be a tyrant throughout the episode because it's me trying to have this iron fist in this house. But when we shot it, people were cheering me and applauding, and they were booing Pamela, and they were booing the kid. They booed the kid. So we're constantly shocked by people's reaction. That's one of the funnest parts, is being surprised.
What were some of the sitcoms that you grew up with, the ones that you particularly liked and the ones that you particularly did not?
I always liked All in the Family. I loved. And I always loved The Honeymooners when I would see it in reruns and stuff. Even more so later in life, The Honeymooners. But I just thought All in the Family was such an awesome show. And I also liked Good Times. And also Barney Miller, which doesn't have much relation to this show, except for that the people on Barney Miller are very ordinary. You would never see a guy like Jack Sue being the star of a sitcom today, or the dude that played Wojciechowicz. Those were just average Americans. And so there was a lot I loved about that show, too. I didn't like shows like, and this is just personal, subjective. I don't judge these shows. They just didn't hit with me. Shows like Cheers, when I started getting older, and Frasier and those shows, and Friends. I just don't connect with those shows. They're very slick, and they're very perfect, and the people are pretty, and they're shot very nicely, and they stopped feeling like these raw theatrical productions that I grew up watching, these Norman Lear shows where people are just dropping wild statements in front of an audience, and that you just feel the kinetic energy of this kind of honesty. That's what I thought sitcoms were supposed to be. So when they became this kind of trading of Harvard-written writerly lines and, cuteness, I stopped being interested. That's just personal.
Let's get back to your new sitcom on HBO, Lucky Louie. Mm-hmm. You play a character called Louie. You are a character. You are a real person named Louie. So, yeah. There's a history of this now on TV, and I know that you're friends with Seinfeld. You used to open for him, I think,
years ago.
Years ago. Okay. So, did you ask him for advice on like things to be careful of when you're doing a show, when you're doing a sitcom with your name in the title, where the line between you and the character is a little blurry?
I guess I don't care if there's a line or not. Like, I don't feel any. I don't think it's important that there be a line. I did call Jerry. I used to open for him back when I was very young, and he gave me a lot of really great advice back then. He was very giving that way. And I lost touch with him. I didn't know him really during having his show, but I'm good for one call to like if I call Jerry, he'll call me back as long as I keep it down to like once every 2 years. Like I can't keep calling Jerry. The best advice I ever got from Jerry was when I was like 19 and I opened for him in a theater and it was like an amazing audience. And I would do a joke and instead of laughing, they would applaud. And I'd never had that happen before, like long applause breaks. And I didn't know what to do during the applause. I just sit there going, what do I do now? So I asked Jerry, what do you do during applause? And he says, you have to stay in the bit. They're applauding and reacting to what you just said. So just stay in that moment. Just inhabit that moment until they're done applauding. That was the best comedy advice I ever got. And I still use it on the show. I mean, I tell all the actors on my show that. Because the nature of our show is that it's shot in front of an audience and that the audience mitigates the performance. So when people say something explosive, which we often do on this show, often the audience goes crazy and they have to wait it out. And a lot of people weren't used to that, and they said, what do I do? And I said, just stay in it. Stay in the moment. The thing you said that got that response, your face should still be saying it, and just hold it.
Your show, in a way, has the look of an earlier sitcom, like from the earlier days of television, maybe like the Honeymooners era or something, where it's kind of shot almost in real time, and though it's not shot on film. I think it's shot on video.
That's right.
But is there a certain look that you were going for?
No, definitely. Because when I started, I did research when I started making this show, and I wanted to do a show that felt really real and that was just based on the comedy. And I went back and I looked at All in the Family, and I realized that at a time where they were shooting a lot of television on film that was shot on videotape. Like Mary Tyler Moore was shot on film, and it's very nice looking and very lush. But there's something disconnecting about film. Like you're watching an image that was projected onto celluloid, and it's not real. But videotape just feels immediate and naked and very raw. And so when I watched the All in the Family episodes, I realized this show had a very raw, beautifully naked feel to it. And I actually called Norman Lear. I got him on the phone because somebody told me that Norman Lear shot on video because they forced him to for budget reasons. And I called him and I asked him, and he said, absolutely not. They wanted me to shoot All in the Family on film, and I demanded videotape because it felt like you were there, like a theatrical experience, and because it made the interaction with the audience seem real. And then I contacted the people that made Roseanne, because Roseanne was the last show shot on videotape. That's a sitcom. And they said the same thing. Roseanne demanded that it be video. And she said she liked it because it's like the news. It's like you're watching the news. You're not watching some fancy show. You're just watching people that happen to be on the news. So we got the same videotape that like the football games are shot on or the news is shot on. And we made the sets. We got the Honeymooners blueprint, actually, of their set. Yeah, I went and found that and looked at their dimensions and studied them. And our set is actually half the size of Ralph's set because he was enormous. And also he shot on with cameras that had much different lenses. So things look a lot smaller back then. But anyway, we wanted to make a set where there's no tchotchkes. I just think there's so much put into like the realism of sitcom sets that it takes away from the funny. When you watch sitcoms that are shot on sets, that there's tons of design choices on the walls and Williams-Sonoma and throw pillows and a big couch and that stuff. I find it very distracting. So what I asked for was just a set where it's just blank walls like the Honeymooners, just nothing. And I wanted to be in a little box and have nowhere to go and have the energy just stay trapped. And we don't have a couch. We're the only sitcom you'll ever see these days that doesn't have a sofa.
You have a kitchen table.
We have a kitchen table and chairs. And so people have to sit upright or stand and really hurl at each other. Like it makes it very confrontational. And everything's hard wood and linoleum. And if you look at the bedroom on our set,
the bed isn't in the center, these master bedrooms that these rich sitcom people live in with a nice table and lamp on each side. The bed's shoved over to the wall, which makes it very hard to shoot bedroom scenes. And there's a scabbed-in door, like the landlord just put in some drywall and faked a door into our apartment. It's a really miserable place that we live in. But it echoes where I lived when I lived in Greenpoint with my wife and kid. We lived in just a disgusting place where you're smoking your neighbor's cigarette constantly through the wall. And, and you have no choices. And there's a big transformer outside of our window that's going, which I wanted to actually put that sound in throughout the soundtrack of the show.
That's an annoying sound.
It's horrible. Yeah, we couldn't have had that. But so we really worked hard to make this that way, to make it realist, but also very theatrical and flat looking. We want people to be focused on the performers and the writing.
When I saw Phantom Thread, I thought Paul Thomas Anderson is the best guy working right now. He's at his best right now. And he's the best one making films right now. Martin Scorsese's a legendary, untouchable filmmaker. His films today aren't at the caliber, I don't think, in terms of richness and the effort made, and the rawness and the honesty. Just such good filmmaking. Sorry, I'm taking too long to say what I think about it, but yes,
no, that's great.
I had the same experience, Joe, of fetishizing the inside of his home in the country and the little car. And how disturbed he gets. It was funny as to me how disturbed he gets. And I remember one day I was shooting my show on Fifth Avenue, and we had a little white tent with some with our electronics and some under it, but we took up a little bit of the sidewalk. And Daniel Day-Lewis walked by, and he hit his head on our tent. And I was in awe of watching him walk by. And he hit his head on the tent a little bit. And I said, "I'm sorry, did you hit your head on that?" And he, without looking back, he said, "Yes, I did." Really? And I was like, my God, there's a little bit of him. And I don't know him at all. There's a little bit of him in these characters. When he's pissed off, he's the funniest thing in movies. He's like Joe Pesci level of acid. It makes me laugh so much. Throughout Phantom Thread, I'm just delighted.
It's very funny, yeah. His
how annoyed he is by anybody who isn't his sister or a client or a dress. Everybody else needs to go f*** themselves. And yes, that this woman, by killing him a little bit every day, is able to hang on to him. That's also every human relationship. Every loving together two people relationship has a little bit of Munchausen. Yeah. And a little bit of this crazy manipulation of one person who's such a white hot heat that the other person needs to cool them down and then let them grow and then cool them down. It's beautifully done. I feel like that's that attention to detail and that willingness to really give into the world that the movie lives in. What is this making clothes thing, and what is it at this level? And what kind of a guy is this guy? What makes him great at this? And we're going to sit there and really fetishize that.
Right.
You start to get off on the clothes and the way that everything that gets him off, and you watch and the way he looks at her and his command of his client and his respect of his client and his home and his sister, who's a lot like There Will Be Blood, the guy that hangs out with him, his partner. If you never replaced what your mother did for you, I mean, then you'll always pine for her. I mean, you never replace when your mother dies. You guys both still have your moms, I think. My mom died a couple of years ago, and the thing that you face is that when your mother dies, because it usually, I mean, look, when people lose their moms early in life, it's a whole other experience I didn't have. But I lost my mom in my 50s, and like my mom said, that's appropriate. Like when I said to her, "I don't want you to die," she said, "That's the way. This is the way it works. We're going in order, and this is the age you're losing me at a pretty average age." But the thing that goes with your mom is the realization you'll never get this kind of support again, and you don't have it coming any longer. It's now your job to offer it to other people. That's a big thing. But when you lose your mom, if you don't fill your life, you only are able to handle that if you find other sources of love. Or if so this guy was a slave to his art. So that's why losing his mom was such a devastating thing. But this is his one hopeful movie. If all these other movies are a search for connection,
this one achieves it.
If The Master is two insane people only finding each other, if There Will Be Blood is a man steadfastly refusing love and what happens to a man like that, this movie is there. All these movies are about crazy people. Well, they're all about madness. And I mean, the Old Country for Old Men is a whole other subject. It's about being a man and all kinds of other shit, and aging. But this movie is like, this guy found a way. And it's true that if you're going to love somebody and have them be a real part of your life, you need to let them kill you a little. You need to let them you need to give something in return. And they need to take a person who's There Will Be Bloodish in life, just exploding with ability and gain and success, is alone. And this incredible artist in The Phantom Thread has this woman who needs to, but also she has this great shining thing in her, and he douses her a little bit because he takes her out of she was this blooming rose in the world, and he takes her into the shade with him, into this dark world. So she's giving up a lot too. It's an interesting partnership, and it is true. You're not gonna find somebody without giving up some of what you value. Romance, a new romance, a honeymoon period is something that makes you feel, I'll never be lonely again. That's the feeling you have. This is candy. This is like a fairy tale, and it'll never be anything else. And then you find out, oh no, I'm terribly lonely. Even though this is the right person for me, I'm still lonely. How do we maintain this now that that's reality has come back? At first, art is a way to keep away the feelings, to feel good about yourself, and to as a defense. The thing that when you watch an artist sustain is when they're able to take their dedication to their art past the point of romance. When you lose the honeymoon with your art, and it becomes a fucking business partner instead of like a real marriage. Then you're doing it because you believe in it, and you're doing it when you in a way that isn't just like, ooh, how this makes me feel. You'll go the rest of your life having these conversations where you go like, yeah, it doesn't work. Marriage doesn't work. And anybody who's doing it is faking it, or, whatever. The thing that I love about this movie, again, and with his whole trajectory in his career, is that you couldn't have two more different movies than Hard Eight and Phantom. Yeah. You couldn't have two more different movies. Two different textures. There's just so much that they don't have in common. Bunch of losers in Vegas trying to get a little something out of life, and then the Phantom Thread. But if you watch him go, it's kind of like you can't ask for any more different language than English and Russian. But if you walk from England through, across the continent, you'll gradually get there. From French to Belgian to German to Finnish to whatever. It's so clear the walking from Hard Eight to Phantom Thread, it makes perfect sense. They're all connected. They're all the same guy, and when he gives himself completely though to the next thing, he really takes the next step. He doesn't reuse old tricks, which like Spielberg is, I think, a master filmmaker. Not every film he's made has been great, and he likes to work more than some people do. So he just makes more movies, but he has tricks, and I enjoy them. He has a bunch of things he does in every single movie. He does all the same shit. This guy doesn't do that.
Pootie.
Part of being an artist is you get fed up with yourself, so you just go, I might as well really talk.
Right.
Use the comic rhythm, and you start getting actually funny and getting
The need to crush. The need to crush.
And I think getting back to our subject, that's happened in some degree with this filmmaker, because he started with the Hard Eight, just going like, here's how my voice sounds, here's how I look at things, here's how I film stuff, here's how I use music and cutting. And and what he had underneath that grew and grew over time was the ability to have actors live with a really sad, just a tragic sadness, and to see the value in actors that weren't exactly kicking ass in other areas yet. And then Boogie Nights was his, like, I'm in Hollywood and I got Marky Mark and I got Burt Reynolds and I'm going to make this John Holmes movie. And the whole second half is going to be so dark and violent, and it's going to be a mess, man. And the first half of it is just beautiful to me. That's just my feeling. Yeah. Second half, I just didn't care about, but I knew I was watching a guy who's extremely special and learning. But he only got richer and richer and richer after that.
Must be awful to be other kinds of stuff. You know, I'm glad I'm this. This is a pretty good deal when you consider the alternatives. Anything else, any other kind of thing, you're in the food chain. You're in the food. We are out of the food chain. I don't know if we fully appreciate the fact that we got out of the food chain. That is a massive upgrade. Because for every other living thing, life ends by being eaten. That's how all life ends, is every single life except human life. Every life ends like this. Ah! 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 We're the only ones that get to just die old in a bed. Just, I love you. Bye. I mean, imagine if we were still in the food chain on top of everything else. Imagine if we were in the food chain. It would just be another thing you gotta deal with. You're already having a bad day. You wake up in the morning, you're making breakfast, you burn your toast, and it's too late to try again. And your kid comes in and says, "Bleh," and you're like, fine. And it's just, why? You get a thing in the mail that says that your phone's different and your mortgage is another company now. What? I don't get it. Then you're walking to work like, why do I even bother? Oh, God damn it! There's always cheaters at the train station. Stop it! Do you think that sharks would be embarrassed if they knew that we could all see their fins sticking out of the top of the water? I think they'd be bummed, because I don't think sharks are aware of that at all. I think sharks think they're slick. They swim around like, hey, nobody has any idea what's down here. And we're all up here like, there's totally a shark right there. It wouldn't be fun being a predator either. If you're a predator, imagine if every time you're hungry, you gotta chase a guy who's running for his life. You gotta, come on, dude, get over here. And just hold him down and bite his neck till he shuts the up for a minute. So you can just sit there and eat his stomach before you go to work. That would really That's why animals just, they go, let's do this together, man. You chase the parents away, I am gonna eat the kid, and you circle back. That's why they do it like that. It, I'm eating babies. This is grown-ups ain't worth a meat. Whoops. All right. Oh, God damn it. Idiot. This isn't a gay voice, by the way. It's not. Shut up. Yeah.